Social programming. What is it? What is it in the body? How can we get rid of it? And how can we deal with this stuff so we can ascend? So, what I've put together through observations through myself, friends and clients, and I've realized that social programming, that thoughts and mind controls and things that we're supposed to do, that society says we got to go to work and do this and do that, rather than what's actually right for our individual soul in the present moment. What is it? How do we get rid of it? Well, it all comes down to usually toxicity, but in particular, heavy metal toxicity. Why? Let's have a look, observation-wise. So, the countries that are the most socially programmed, let's face it, US, UK, Australia. Yeah, we're the ones who work hard, and we're, quite often our culture is just socially programmed robots, essentially. Hence, we get the zombie movies. And the recent one I just checked out was Resident Evil Vendetta. There's a lot of themes in that. We've got gas in the air from chemtrails with a frequency from different news agencies and mass media and telephones and mobile phones and stuff. Then that reacts with a virus that's generally stored here. Could be anywhere, but generally in the lower abdomen area. And those frequencies can be changed, and then our mind can be controlled. It's a closed system. It's a circuit. Yeah. So how do we break that circuit? Well, we've got to do a fair bit of work on ourselves to do that. And this is essentially what getting out of the system and spiritual work is, when you get down to it. So, heavy metals, they're in our water, they're in our food, they're in our environment, they're pretty much everywhere. So, if we want to deal with that, we have to deal with it ourselves so we're not burdened by the effects. And those effects on the neurology are significant, because I've noticed within myself as I've got rid of them, all of a sudden you just expand. So how do we deal with it? Sweating is absolutely essential. There's no getting around it. Hard work pays off in this instance for sure. And have a look at the 5 element theory in the star in Ayurveda. Fire and water are the 2 star points that are pointing down. In the middle is transformation. So put that into the body. We need to sweat with fire and water here, and then transformation comes from our spirit or our genitals, which is generally where the kidneys are releasing the heavy metal gunk from. Fits in, doesn't it? Totally. So, recommend near-infrared saunas and Bikram yoga. They are fantastic for sweating out heavy metals. Silica, I've got some high-dose silica that I use to get them out as well, and lots of sulfur-based ingredients. Also, there's a fair bit in this one. I'm putting most of it together reasonably well. And of course, so heavy metals are also the key that feed parasites, and fungus are the ones that control the parasites. Yeah, it's kind of like a triangle of transformation. So by getting rid of the heavy metals, which I see as the key ingredient, then the parasites and the fungus have less food and less mind control over the person's entity. Fits in, doesn't it? It's a bit hectic. This is why some people love garlic and some people don't. And that's why it radiates, because it's actually getting rid of the fungus and parasites. And I've been noticing it with some ozonated garlic oil. You really notice the aroma. So, a couple other things I'm just going to... Also, notice the heavy metal effects on toxicity on the thyroid in particular. Notice in these 3 countries in the Western world that we're part of are the ones that generally have the least thyroid function. And as a result, they have to externalize and they have to express themselves to everybody, and looking for an external source in God or the divine. That's all down to thyroid function. Get rid of the heavy metals and that becomes much more internally empowered, because then the nervous system is more connected from between the bottom half of the body through the thyroid to the neurology. Yeah, big one, isn't it? And of course, if you've got tight thighs or really heavy in the feet, and especially around the hips, then there's a lot of oxalates, and generally that's one of the offshoots of heavy metal toxicity. Yeah, there's a lot. And if you look at it, different body types, then there's even more. So you'll notice that the fire people, they're sweating, they're moving their bodies, they have the fire transformation. So they're generally connected with their soul that much more than most other people. You'll notice the Vata type people, which are the more airy kind of type people, they generally get viruses, and they've got a lot of stuff down here, heavy metal toxicity, and down from the bottom parts of the legs, they're tight, and they've got a lot of, say, oxalates, and a lot of calcification build up, which is generally, you need magnesium to fix that as well, plus breaking it down with fire. You look at the kapha types, which are generally the more strong and dependable and heavier type bodies. Then they're naturally going to store a lot here, because they need to move their hips, and they need fire, and they need to sweat to get rid of this stuff. And that's not their general style. So as a result, their nervous system is not connected here in the tree of life as well as it could be, unless they actually work on it. And they have to do a fair bit of extra sweating because they haven't done it in their daily lifestyle as a part of their programmed yet growing up. And as a result, in the mucus plaque, where all these toxins, parasites, heavy metals, and fungus is stored, leads to delusion. And this is our delusion center. So the people with the most fire and the most water, and able to use that fiery water in their daily lifestyle and choices, are the ones that are going to transform by getting rid of the heavy metals. And of course, getting rid of that heavy metal shoots the neurology and the nervous system up through the firmament, which is the thing that is keeping us down, the collective consciousness. So, being able to get through that and raising our kundalini and awakening our higher centers for different neurology benefits that I hope school, and that is the key for spiritual development. So without the fire of transformation and get rid of heavy metals, then it's very, very difficult, nigh impossible to do that. So heavy metals, getting rid of that stuff, kind of handy to know about, and to action with fiery water. Hurrah!